On the night of January 24, 2015, at exactly 10 p.m., 392 members of the Philippine National Police's Special Action Force, SAF, prepared for one of the most dangerous missions in the unit's history. The Special Action Force was the PNP's elite tactical unit, trained for high-risk operations such as counterterrorism, hostage rescue, and precision raids. Every operator had gone through years of demanding training and a strict selection process. Those chosen for this mission represented some of the finest commandos in the organization. Days before the operation, Philippine authorities received intelligence reportedly originating from the United States. The information pointed to two of the world's most wanted terrorists hiding deep within the marshlands of Mamasapano, Maguindanao. Their mission was clear: infiltrate the area, capture or neutralize Abdul Basit Usman, and eliminate the primary target, Zulkifli bin Hir, better known as Marwan. Marwan, a Malaysian national, was one of the FBI's most wanted terrorists. He was linked to several bombings across Southeast Asia and was believed to be the chief bomb maker of Jemaah Islamiyah, an extremist organization with ties to Al-Qaeda that operated across the region, including parts of the southern Philippines. The second target, Abdul Basit Usman, was a Filipino bomb-making expert and a senior commander of the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, a radical militant group that had broken away from the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Both men had long been pursued by Philippine security forces, wherein multiple operations were conducted. Some was aborted, some failed. But this time, due to the information that the Philippine officials received, it boosted their confidence that this new operation will be a success. But the plan had a critical weakness: coordination. Normally, operations in conflict areas required coordination with the military, the armed forces of the Philippines, especially because they had artillery, armored units, and larger forces that could respond if something went wrong. In this case, that coordination was limited and delayed. Another key issue was leadership. Alan Purisima, who had been suspended from his position at the time, was still involved in planning the operation. Meanwhile, Getulio Napeñas was directly overseeing the mission on the ground. This created a complicated chain of command, one that would later become a major point of criticism. The assault force was organized into 5 special action companies, or a SAC, each assigned a specific role. Leading the mission was the 84th SAC Seaborne, headed by Police Superintendent Raymond A. Train, composed of 38 operators specially trained for maritime infiltration and high-value target operations. They would conduct the actual assault on Marwan's hideout. Providing security was the 55th SAC, consisting of 36 operators. Their task was to establish a blocking position and prevent the targets from escaping once the assault began. The remaining units, the 41st, 42nd, and 45th SACs, were positioned along different containment lines and stood ready to reinforce the assault teams if needed. Reaching the target, however, proved far more difficult than expected. The objective was in Barangay Pitsandawan, with the terrain composed of a wide river and surrounded by vast marshlands. Thick mud slowed the movement of the assault force, delaying the operation by nearly 2 hours. There was another complication. The area was surrounded by communities and camps occupied by members of the MILF, the BIFF, and various armed local groups. At the time, the Philippine government and the MILF were still engaged in ongoing peace negotiations. But because of the highly confidential nature of the mission, the MILF hadn't been informed of the operation. Moving cautiously through the darkness, the seaborne operators crawled toward Marwan's hut, carefully scanning for sentries or defensive positions. They found none. Then, without warning, the area around the hut had been rigged with IED. The blasts shattered the silence, instantly alerting everyone nearby. Marwan awoke and opened fire on the approaching commandos. The operators returned fire. Within moments, Marwan was fatally wounded. But amid the chaos, the second target, Abdul Basit Usman, managed to escape into the darkness. To To confirm Marwan's identity, the assault team followed standard identification procedures. One of his fingers was severed and prepared for DNA analysis. Moments later, the ground commander texted the tactical command post. Mike 1, bingo. The code signified that the primary target had been neutralized. The mission appeared to be a success, but the hardest part was only beginning.
Go.
The gunfire and explosions echoed across the surrounding marshes. Within minutes, armed fighters from the MILF, the BIFF, and other local armed groups began converging on the area. The 55th SAC, positioned roughly 2 kilometers from Barangay Tucanalipao, suddenly found itself dangerously exposed. Their defensive position offered almost no protection. Aside from rows of corn, there was little cover against incoming fire. At approximately 5:30 a.m., hundreds of armed men surrounded the 36 SAF operators. The firefight began. At the same time, the 84th SAC Seaborne also came under heavy attack. Outnumbered and under constant fire, they withdrew toward a nearby elevated position, where they attempted to hold their ground while waiting for support. Meanwhile, the 41st, 42nd, and 45th SACs tried to push forward and rescue the trapped blocking force. But as they advanced, they were met by intense gunfire and accurate sniper fire from multiple directions. The rescue force was pinned down before it could reach the 55th. The reinforcement never arrived. The situation reaches SAF Director Getulio Napeñas Jr., the one who oversees the operation. At about 6 a.m., SAF Director contacted the Army Division assigned on that area. The military commander, Major General Pangilinan, sent out a rescue team. The Army arrived at 8 a.m., and to their surprise, they saw the remaining commandos just sitting on the highway. They asked the SAF commander on the ground about the seat rep and location, but the SAF commander said, "I don't know." This causes another delay for the military to advance, but eventually they figured the trapped commando's location and went for the offensive. The army was told not to engage the MILF because of the ongoing peace process. The clash lasted about 9 hours. It only stops when the Philippine military deployed a white phosphorus round to signal the artillery. The SAF commandos held their ground. Upon the accounts of the military, the 55th serving as the blocking force, 35 out of 36 commandos were killed in action. The company was eradicated with only one survivor, Christopher Lalande. Meanwhile, on the 84th SAC Seaborne, who served as the main assault team, 9 commandos were killed and 14 others were wounded. On the MILF side, 18 of their fighters were killed and several others were wounded. Investigation was later conducted by the Philippine government. After the investigation, charges have been filed to the ground combatants. For the 35 members of the 55th SAC, the court had convicted MILF commanders Abubakar Guyaman and Muhammad Ali Tambaco. Both received 35 counts of homicide, but later downgraded from direct assault with murder into homicide. They were sentenced up to 8 years to 14 years of imprisonment per count. On the other hand, for the 9 commandos from the 84th Seaborne, there were no individual has been convicted or successfully prosecuted. The main reason was because of a lack of identification and witnesses of the suspects due to chaotic battlefield conditions. The Department of Justice was unable to legally pin the killers. The Philippine Senate report identified a complete breakdown of the institutional chain of command during the Mamasapano incident, attributing blame to President Benigno Aquino III, suspended PNP Chief Alan Purisima, and SAF Director Getulio Napeñas. Key failures included President Aquino bypassing the chain of command, Purisima's illegal usurpation of authority, Napeña's failure to coordinate with the military, and the resulting lack of support for ground troops. Detailed information on this investigation is available in the final Senate report. While families of the victims and groups like the Volunteers Against Crime and Corruption, VACC, fiercely fought to hold the top leadership criminally liable, all accounts against public officials were legally cleared or dismissed. In the end, the Mamasapano incident is often described as a failed operation, but that description doesn't fully capture it, because the objective was achieved. Marwan was killed, but the cost was 44 lives. 44 lives with family and kids. 44 lives lost that can be avoided if only the proper procedures was followed.